Okay, get this. What happens when one of a politician's biggest, most public supporters suddenly turns around and just blasts one of their key policies? Well, that's exactly what went down with Joe Rogan and Donald Trump. Let's get into what happened here. Right, so to really get why this is a big deal, you have to remember, we're talking about Joe Rogan. This isn't just some random commentator. He officially endorsed Donald Trump for the 2024 election, even had him on his show, which, as you know, is absolutely massive. And that's what makes this whole thing so wild. On a recent broadcast, Rogan didn't just kind of disagree with a policy, he totally slammed it. I mean, it created this very public and, frankly, very unexpected split. So the big question is, how do you go from a full-throated endorsement to a public takedown? Let's actually look at the contradiction here side by side. So on one side, you have the big public endorsement of Donald Trump. And on the other, you have him just hammering this signature anti-immigration policy. What this really tells us is that his issue isn't with Trump himself, but with how a specific, major policy is actually being put into practice. And look, Rogan didn't pull any punches. He used some incredibly strong language to describe what he was seeing. And his choice of words really gets to the heart of why he's so against it. Horrific. I mean, that's a powerful word. You don't just throw that around. For Rogan, this clearly wasn't just some abstract political debate. It was a deep, gut reaction to something he found genuinely disturbing happening on the streets. Now, to really understand where he's coming from, we have to talk about what he thought the policy was supposed to be. See, his problem isn't with the idea of immigration enforcement, not at all. It's about who is being targeted. And right here, this is the core of it. He was expecting this targeted operation, going after violent gangs like MS-13, but what he saw instead was a policy that was sweeping up families, people who've been here, who are part of their communities. That huge gap between the expectation and the reality, that's what lit the fuse for his whole critique. So, what was he actually seeing that caused this reaction? To really wrap our heads around the scale of this thing, we gotta look at the numbers. And the numbers are pretty staggering. In just one state, New Jersey, we're talking over 3,000 people arrested by ICE. So this isn't some abstract policy idea. It's a massive operation on the ground, and that's the reality that Rogan was reacting to. And if you think 3,000 in just one state sounds like a lot, well, the national goal is on a whole other level. The Department of Homeland Security is aiming to deport 1 million people a year. That is the enormous scale of what we're talking about here. So this all brings us to the very core of Rogan's argument, because for him, it's not just an emotional outburst. He's actually making an appeal to reason, basically asking if this policy is even logical or, humane. The real question for him is, who's actually getting caught in this net? He's talking about people who've been living here for 25 years, people with families, with kids in school who are part of the community. He's pointing out how wild it is to send someone back to a country they might not have even seen since they were a little kid. And this right here, this is how he sums it all up. For Rogan, a policy that shows no heart isn't just a moral problem, it's a practical one. He's saying, look, you're just not going to get regular, reasonable people to support something that they see as cruel. It's just not going to work. And at the end of the day, his entire passionate critique really just boils down to this one simple, powerful question. It's a direct challenge to the whole approach, and it leaves all of us thinking, is there a better way?